Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay. I wanted to do this video to talk a little bit about how I feel some of the ways that music has changed over the decades, particularly from the 1990s to now, and how it has evolved, but also some of the ways it's reflected negatively. For example, in my 1990s video, I talked about how a lot of artists in those days were very regional. Like you had your West Coast sound, you had your East Coast sound, you had your down south sound, which was in its early infancy period. But you really didn't have a distinct today you really don't have a distinct sound of any place. You got a lot of New York rappers that sound like they're Southern, like for example, French Montana. We had a guy Designer a couple of years ago that had that song Panda. That he really sounded down south, like, but he was from New York. You know, you had Trinidad James a couple of years ago come to New York and disrespect New York. New York wouldn't have been putting up with that, 10 to 15 years ago, back in the 90s. In fact, when Snoop came to and stepped on the buildings in New York, we took it to great offense. So I think the music business, particularly the hip hop industry, has moved away from distinct regional sounds and has moved away from distinct sounds at all. Another way that music business has changed, I feel, is that it no longer hedges on um, having a record deal and being all that successful and having a good album because it's not about albums anymore. It's about downloads, streams, how many hits you get on Spotify. And that's what made Drake a very successful artist in the 2010s. Was not his album sales, but his downloads and his streams. And artists initially were very upset about um, the influx of the internet, but they have now become accustomed to it and they even want it and invite it. But this takes away the creativity of artists in the way that it used to. Whereas they don't have to design a concept album like Crazy Sexy Cool anymore because nobody's going to buy it. They're just going to want to stream the, the songs and they're just going to want little snippets of it. So, in other words, nobody wants a whole steak anymore. People just want the sandwiches because we live in a soundbite culture where everything is sound bites, everything is instant gratification. And that's really affected the music industry as a whole. Another thing is, too, that musicians today, they're not boxed in not just by region, but they're not even boxed in by genre. I mean, I remember my friend Lisa telling me, and me and her having this discussion, like we couldn't even figure out what Post Malone and Lizzo even are, where they would fit into the conversation. Many years ago, you had your artists that did R&B, your artists that did reggae, your artists that did rock, your artists that did pop, but now you got a bunch of artists doing a bunch of different things, and it's hard to really keep up with. Another thing is too, the fame is too fleeting. You know, today you might hear about the baby and Gunna and Lil Baby and a boogie with a hoodie. Tomorrow you might not even hear about these people anymore. You might not even hear about 21 Savage anymore, J. Cole anymore, any of these guys. You know, artists today are not going to have the sort of longevity that an Aretha Franklin or Diana Ross had or LL Cool J had because people know you and they forget about you the moment you don't have anything else. So it's all about what have you done lately. And another thing I think that affects the music industry too is the same thing that affects kind of politics. Is the celebrities aren't celebrities anymore because they're too accessible. If I could access you on Twitter, then you're no longer that big of a deal to me. The more inaccessible you make yourself, the more famous you become. Mariah Carey was never that accessible to her fans and to the media. While she was on top, Michael Jackson wasn't either. Um, When Houston wasn't, they would schedule shit. They would have their publicists come in, tell talk show hosts like Wendy Williams and Angie Martinez that they can only ask certain questions, and that would be it. And it would create sort of this mystique around them, whereas that mystique doesn't exist anymore. You know what I mean? Like you can hit your favorite artists up on Twitter and curse them out. You know what I mean? Or you can see a video from your favorite artist like Cardi B on Twitter and curse them out, or like whatever. So they don't seem as 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 admirable anymore. They don't seem as inaccessible anymore. They don't seem as well. Excuse the phrase. I know a lot of you guys are Christian or whatever, Muslim, and you don't really agree with this, but musicians these days don't seem as godlike, whereas before they were very godlike. Like just coming, just seeing one of them, you became starstruck and you started to cry and you started to scream. And like you see the old videos with Michael Jackson with fans just like this and like that. You know, like you're never gonna see that. You're never gonna see that with Cardi B. You're never gonna see that with Takashi 69. You're never gonna see that with 21 Savage. You know what I mean? Like it's just never gonna be that sort of pandemonium, that sort of thing you always saw with artists like in previous other decades, because they just seem like regular people now, which they always were regular people. But like I said, the wall of inaccessibility no longer exists. And plus, another reason I think is the fans. The fans don't become as invested in a particular artist's discography anymore, like they used to with TLC, like they used to with Destiny's Child, and like they used to with somebody like Michael Jackson, where they would want to buy every single song they put out. Now they don't even want to buy the singles. And the biggest one, particularly this really affects rap, is that you don't understand what they're saying. And if you don't understand what they're saying, the lyrics don't connect with you, you don't become successful. You know, people today look back on certain songs and be like, damn, those lyrics in Dear Mama, they really touch me. Those lyrics in Unpretty, they really touch me. They really resonated with me. But you can't really say that about Amigo's song. You can't really say that about Little Yachty's Broccoli, you know? You can't really say that about Kodak Black Tunnel Vision, you know? They don't have the same effect. They don't move you. And art, whether it's film, whether it's a book, whether it's a piece of music, art should always move you and inspire you. And if it doesn't move you and inspire you, then it's not good art. So I think that affects music today as compared to back in the day. Um, I don't ever foresee the music industry ever being what it used to be, because nothing is ever what it used to be. You know, change is always constant. A lot of us older people, we don't we felt betrayed because, like wrestling fans and fans of film franchises like Star Wars, we want music to be the way it used to be when we were kids. But we got to realize we're not kids anymore. You know what I mean? The market doesn't cater to us anymore the way it used to be. You know, I remember watching. I remember freestyling over the Anything beat by Jay Z years ago, and thinking like, damn, Jay Z was so fucking cool, man. I wish I could be like Jay Z. I don't think a lot of these young kids wish they could be like Lil Pump. I don't think they wish they could be like Juice World or Triple X or any of them. You know, if anything, those guys are singing about how shitty their life is compared to me. So you're saying that your life is just like mine. If your life is just like mine, then what makes me want to be like you? You know what I mean? What makes me want to idolize you? Nothing really. You know? And I read an article that said that As you become older, your brains change and you stop absorbing and loving new music. I don't think this is true. I think this is just has to do with art. You know what I mean? If the music was good, we'd like it. But because it's not that good, we don't. So it's not our age and it's not anything like that. It's not the old, oh, well, you're just too old. You can't understand it. No, I can't understand it because it's not even English. It's not I'm old. It's that I can't understand it because it's not freaking real words. It's mumbled. So don't tell me, don't have, don't lecture me, these younger fans of the newer stuff, lecture me of what I should like or why I should understand this stuff. If I'm gonna need a dictionary just to listen to a freaking album, I'm not gonna buy that album. I'm not gonna become invested in that artist. Peace.